Welcome to the Tribe of the Restored Warrior podcast, where coming home changed doesn't mean you're broken.
Welcome to another episode of the Tribe of the Restored Warrior. I'm Justin, your host, joined with Dr. Ben Iobst, and today we're going to talk about commitment and relationships.
Okay, all right. So I think when we're talking about this topic here, really, within the veteran and first responder community, what we're kind of talking about is the either inability to maintain a relationship, inability to commit to people, and really the lack of wanting to be involved in things with other people. Did you experience any of that when you got out of the military?
Absolutely. A lot of isolation, disconnection from society, other people. I didn't feel like I had anything in common with anybody.
Yeah, I definitely experienced the same thing. And then on the first responder side, when I was still actively on the job, I would find myself isolating from people as well. I just didn't want to deal with people in my time off. Where that really seems to come from is a multitude of different directions. So first is that fear of loss. So when we're deployed and we're losing buddies, or even in a simpler form, when we are together with a group of individuals and then at the end of that deployment, boom, they're all spread out to the wind and you don't see those people again. We become a little bit guarded against that.
Mm-hmm.
So what ends up happening is we don't want to develop relationships with other people due to that fear of loss. The other side of that can be, old traumas coming back. So we distance, we isolate from people because we do not want to either expose ourselves to their trauma, expose them to our trauma, or experience new traumas together. We've filled up the trauma cup and we don't want to experience anymore. The other thing that can happen is people can be turned inward. So we end up just blocking ourselves out because we're feeling so much internal pain. And then that adds in the substances, which isolate even further. So I know we've talked about this in episodes in the past. That camaraderie is key. But what ends up happening is when we start screwing around with substances, whether it's drinking or drugs, we find false camaraderie in that. So we start spending our time at the bars. We start spending our time with people who use similar substances to us. And it's camaraderie, but it's the unhealthy version of camaraderie. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I'd agree. My experience was like that. If you weren't drinking what I was drinking or doing what I was doing, I didn't really have a whole lot of use for you.
Yeah. And that seems to happen with a lot of us. So some of the things that we can do to really help ourselves in this is first recognize that root cause, recognizing that we may be isolating from people and stepping away from people due to things that happened in our past. And a lot of times when we recognize and see an injury, we're then more willing to treat it rather than I just don't feel like being around people. Now we start to recognize, well, maybe it is this, and that makes it that much easier to address it. The second thing is to, communicate with those trusted friends and peers. And if you don't have any, that can be kind of problematic. So that's where maybe reaching out to some of the support groups in the area can be a help. Getting to, if you're local, get to one of our veterans and first responders meetings, and then practice trust in small ways. So bite-sized chunks, recognizing that trust doesn't have to always be all on or all off. Just like in the military, we learned, I trust this guy unconditionally or I don't. That isn't always the healthiest way to view things here. So recognizing that we may have conditional trust. I trust my plumber to be in my house to do my plumbing. I don't trust him to do my electric, so recognizing that we can have conditional trust and that's perfectly okay. And then lastly, if you're really, really struggling, getting help from those culturally competent professionals, and getting tied in with those support groups. So what do you think?
I think that's all great tips, great things to follow. And you heard it here on the Tribe of the Restored Warrior, and check in next time. Tribe of the Restored Warrior works in collaboration, contributes to Vets and Badges, where real-life heroes share their trials and tribulations. Please check out www.vetsandbadges.com for more information.